Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be interviewing a very funny stand-up comedian. You may have all seen her on Last Comic Standing back in the day, Tammy Pescatelli. I'm so excited. We've been trying to set up an interview for almost half a year now, but it's finally going to happen. I'm so excited. She's a very funny lady. And she's got a history at the Comedy Store, which all of you know I'm obsessed with that place. And we're going to talk about that. She even did a Jerry Lewis Telethon at the very end of his run. And we're going to be talking about that and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm pretty excited and everything like that. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty informative, pretty funny, all that stuff. So, here is my new interview with Tammy Pescatelli. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. You emailed me. I guess this is you emailing me right now. Yep, I'm on the phone with you.
Yep. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. I'm glad we can finally do this now.
Me too. I apologize. It's been such a chaotic ride, but thanks for holding out for me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I know the feeling. It's a pleasure. So, were you always funny growing up?
No, but I was always sarcastic. Sorry, I just dropped. My dog is bumping me. I was always sarcastic. You know what I mean? I was a person that I grew up with all boys, and I grew up, even older cousins and everything. So I grew up in a neighborhood that was mostly all boys. So after a while, we were all the same strength. All kids have the same strength. And then you get a little bit older, and they got stronger and faster, but they couldn't outrun my mouth. So if they would do something or beat me, I'd say something that could, emotionally beat them.
Yeah. Did you start watching comedy at an early age?
Well, I did, but I was with my grandparents a lot, and they used to love Johnny Carson, and I would be able to stay up late when I was with them because it was weekends, and we'd watch Johnny Carson. And so, yes, I was watching comedy. I was watching Carol Burnett. I was watching All in the Family. I was watching the Flip Wilson show, but I certainly didn't know about stand-up. I loved stand-up. I remember getting an Eddie Murphy tape when I was, I think I was like in 9th grade or 8th grade, and buying it and sneaking it in the house and hiding it in my closet with my sleeping bag and a flashlight and covering me in the closet so I could listen to it, because that kind of swearing was not allowed in the house, And I loved it. I just didn't know I could be a stand-up. I just didn't think about that as a career. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, my dad and I... my dad and I used to watch R-rated movies when my mother wasn't home, and he had this one tape. We'd watch 48 Hours, and then Eddie Murphy Delirious would be on, but I wasn't allowed to watch it until I was like 14,
Yeah. Well, it was just, they just didn't want you to hear all that stuff, and now I get it, because I'm a mom, and I understand, but it was some of the greatest comedy of our time. Listen, I loved Bill Cosby. I must have seen his HBO special. I don't kid you, probably 32 times that summer.
Yeah.
His special came out on HBO with the dentist and the drooling and stuff.
And Jeffrey.
It's different.
Yeah, it's classic. Yeah. So who would you say were your biggest influences in comedy?
I definitely would say Eddie Murphy. I definitely would say Bill Cosby. I love Rodney Dangerfield. I think my career has, now I don't have his one-liner style. Yeah. But the level of not getting any respect has really been appropriate for my career.
You get my utmost respect, I tell you.
Well, thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. What year did you start doing stand-up?
Full-time 1994, so I should have a way better career, don't you think?
Yeah. Where at?
Well, get this. I'm from Cleveland originally, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I went to college for fashion design because my guidance counselor in the 10th grade, when I said I wanted to be an actress, told me that you're from here. It's a little suburb of Cleveland, Perry, Ohio. She's like, you're from here. No one from here has ever been on TV. If you want to be on TV, you're gonna have to rob a bank, right?
Yeah.
So I went to school for fashion, and then I guess throughout that time, my parents had moved. So when they moved to a place called the Quad Cities. That's Iowa and Illinois. Mm-hmm. And I went to visit them after I graduated, and that's where I started, in Davenport, Iowa, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Makes me think of a girl I used to bang who was from Iowa.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, they literally, I had nothing to do there. So it was kind of the perfect time because I was supposed to go to New York for my internship at the end of the summer, and I didn't know anybody. When you're 19, 20, I think it was 21 by then, I'd graduated. I didn't know anyone. So I said, I'm going to work at this Funny Bone, and it was Funny Bone Comedy Club, and wait tables. I'll meet people, I'll watch comedy, make a little money, and then I'll leave at the end of the fall. And then they had an open mic night that was sponsored by a radio station, and I had said, because this woman came through, and I had said to my brothers, I'm as funny as she is, and my one brother said, I'll bet you $50 you're not. And I was like, I'll take that bet. And I did the open mic night, and the radio station hired me to do the morning show, and I never left.
Wow.
Yeah, I did a morning show for 2.5 years while I was doing open mics, and then I became the house MC, and that Funny Bone was part of the big chain. At the time, there was 20 of them connected, and that owner happened to own the Cleveland Improv. So I moved back to Cleveland and became, a MC on the road like a dum-dum, and went around and I left a radio station morning show with a free leased car, because that's when radio was giving people everything, and I went and made $7,000 my first year in comedy.
Nice. Did you know what your act was going to be yet? Because you seem to have this persona, especially from talking to you right now, since you grew up in a family of all boys. You seem like, the tomboy sister every guy dreams of.
Well, I said thank you, I think. No, I didn't. They always say you got to find your voice. I kind of did. One of my first jokes was still to this day, I think, one of my best jokes. People used to come up to me and say, who did your boobs? And I'd be like, God. And they go, well, where's his office? And I said, Jerusalem. Now get away from me. Don't you think if I'd have had that kind of money, I'd have had my nose fixed first? And that actually came from real life, nightclubs, because back then a lot of women didn't have breast implants. And here I was, this Italian girl. You know what I mean? I had curves. And that was hard. Because women, now I see these young girls, and they're all in their nice clothes, and good for them. But my generation of female comics, we didn't want to be female comics. We wanted to be comedians. So I would dress in I called it the lesbian comedian uniform with, a T-shirt, a vest, and a big jacket, and you just dull down your sexuality, and you just try to tell jokes. I didn't want to tell period jokes, or to this day, I've never written one joke about my vagina or any of that stuff like all these girls do, and good for them because that's their wheelhouse now, but it wasn't comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When did you move to L.A.?
2001, so I'd been a comic 7 years at that point.
Mm-hmm. So you started in
Yes.
So you started in 94, but did you go to the Comedy Store?
Well, in 2001, right away. I was really lucky because I moved there. It was a blessing and a curse. I was what you call a split week headliner at moved. So that meant I traveled with a lot of big names really helped me out. From John Panette to George Lopez to D.L. Hughley to so many great comics helped me. Pablo Francisco. So they might not want to play Club Tour Wednesday through Sunday then. They might not want to do Wednesday and Sunday. So I would headline on Wednesday and Sunday and then feature for them on the weekend. So when I moved to LA, I was already established, so I immediately was in on the Hollywood Improv. And then I hadn't been there 2 months, and it was funny, I was at a wonderful guy. He's a great manager. His name, oh my God, why is his name flipping my head right now? Because I've been Rick Messina. And he was having a football day, and he barely ever let women over for football day, right? But I was one of the 2 girls that he let. And we were watching a game, and he goes, Pescatelli, go to the Comedy Store now. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, Mitzi needs a girl for Night of 1,000 Guidos. He goes, you got an audition in an hour. And I'm like, are you sick? And so I ran down, and then she didn't show up that night. So then I went back the next week, and, of course, she passed me right away. And I was blessed to sit at the feet of that wonderful legend for a long time and hear millions of stories and be part of that crew for the next 7 years until I left LA.
You got there like right when like the place got really dead and dark.
Yes, it was. Yes, but it made the comics. We just were such a family. Like, so I got there. I moved to LA January. I got passed in like March. September 11th hit. You know, we were a family. That's where we went. Every comic that was, we were there. We all drove to the Comedy Store, and we wanted to be. And Mitzi came. We wanted to be with her. We wanted to be with our family. You know. Yeah, great comics now that are just crushing. Sebastian Maniscalco, Joe Rogan. Well, you know, Joe already had 2 shows under his belt, but he's Joey Diaz, Ari Shaffir, Don Caparulo, Brett Ernst. That was my class. But you know, Joey, not Joe, because Joe is ahead of us. But you know, all those other guys. That's my class of comics from the Comedy Store. Cynthia
Levin.
No, she was already passed before me. And she already, I think, moved back to New York, but Cynthia's a great... I was there at an odd time that there were no real, like, there was women now that you know, which is great, but they weren't full-time in comedy yet. Sean Pulaski, Vicky Barbalack, you know what I mean? So that was, I'm so glad to see them having some fun and success, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy about Vicky. You know, it shows that it's never too late.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? She's had this great act for a long time. I think that's the difference. You know, there are some comics that people know, and they think that they're funny. And then sometimes people say to me, who's your favorite comic? And my favorite comic, of course, besides Dom Irera, who, by the way, is another guy who helped me a lot and is such a great friend and a mentor at the same time. But, you know, there are people, Dom is my favorite comic, but then there's also a guy named Larry Reeb, Uncle Lair. And Lair was on those Rodney Dangerfield specials, Take a Tip from Your Uncle Lair. And he's a guy that, like a Vicky, so funny, not everybody knows him, you know?
Oh, I've interviewed Larry. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I'm glad you know him. He's one of my favorites. There are some of his lines to me that literally on a weekly basis, when I hear someone say, I'm sick. Well, you don't sound sick. You know, we could finish that one out.
Women make the rules, and they change the rules every other fucking day. Yeah, he's a very funny guy. Did you ever have any ghost encounters there?
Nah, I think they stay away from me. I'm too blessed. And even, well, like I said, what am I afraid? I'm afraid of real life, not ghosts. Like, real life. I was broke there. What a ghost going to get from me? There was nothing to be had. When I was in LA at first, I didn't have
Oh, yeah, I had this weird feeling the first time I went to the Comedy Store 2 years ago. It was a year after my car accident, and I first we're walking up the pavement, and I get a shudder down my back because I know that's where Steve Lubekin landed when he jumped off of the Hyatt, and we get inside the OR. You know, I signed up and I didn't get on, but I went to go watch everyone, and I just felt the presence of dead comics in the room. Like Kinnison and Pryor and Robin, they were all there, I felt like.
Yes,
and
it's greatness is what you feel. And that's why when people say, well, it's because people always go, it's ghost. And I'm like, it's not ghost. It's legend. The problem is LA has rolled over every legendary spot. Mm-hmm. You feel the same way when you walk into the Friars Club, and nobody offed themselves at the Friars Club in New York. You know what I mean? What it is there's reverence there. There's homage there. I mean, they had a beautiful Friars Club in L.A., and then John Favreau and Vince Vaughn took it over and put sand down in the library and tiki torches and lava lamps. So there's nobody who reveres thing. I remember the first time I was 18 years old, I didn't even want to be a comic, but I went to L.A. because I was fascinated with Hollywood, and the first place I wanted to go was the Improv, because I knew for sure I'd see some celebrities or funny people there, because Bud had that evening at the Improv. And sure enough, there was Bud Friedman, So I definitely think it's reverence that you feel. You know what I mean? You feel excitement when you see that place, because so many people, you can't be someone who's a household name of a certain decade that didn't come out of that place.
I mean, some notable exceptions of people who Mitzi didn't like, but certainly there are so many people who passed through there.
Name one person out of the 80s that didn't play the Comedy Store.
Jerry Seinfeld.
You can't.
Jerry Seinfeld, because he went on one time in 1979, and then Mitzi, I guess, thought he was too polished or something, and then she let him go.
Okay, all right. You got me there, because I didn't. But all right, that's one out of the 200. You know what I mean? So yeah, you probably. And I think a lot of people. It was different. Even when I went there, as someone who's a working comic and being groomed through the funny bones and the improv, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the dynamic at first. I was way more comfortable at the Improv at first, and I still am, and I love it there. But when I first went to the Comedy Store, I didn't understand that she really meant it as a workout place, because there was no place in LA to just work it out that was professional. And then once we all embraced that, then that became the comics. I almost hate it now because it's so hot. You know what I mean? Industry never showed up at the Comedy Store at my tenure there.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, when I do go there now, I mean, the energy is just right. I like that, and everyone is just killing it over there and stuff. But I get what you mean. I mean, I listen to the Comedy Store podcast, and I hear all the classic stories about what used to go on there and stuff. People having sex like in the middle of the club and everything. I know it's different now.
Well, they weren't necessarily in the middle of the club, but I've walked over. What would happen is a lot of times the main room was closed and the restrooms were busy, so I'd walk over to the main room to use the bathroom, and sometimes I'd stumble upon things the boys were doing that I shouldn't have seen, that I wish I could unsee, but it was all willing participants. So
yeah, that's good. At least it was willing participants.
No, yeah, those broads threw themselves at those guys. So
in 2004, you did Last Comic Standing. Where did you audition, in L.A.?
Yeah, I had 2002. I did the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, and at that festival, the Tonight Show and Letterman asked me to do I had never been on television, so they wanted to break me. And I chose Letterman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right around when he got sick. So I kept getting bumped because they weren't going to do stand-up while he had guest hosts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, and then a year goes by. So now it's 2003, and the guys who were booking the Tonight Show at the time, Bob Reed and Ross Mark, come to me and go, look, are you going to wait forever? Or are you going to come do our show? And I was like, no, I'd love to do it. So I do the Tonight Show, and it was the best thing that I ever did. Not only did I love my set, and it was a great thing, but Jay was great to me. I got to do it a few more times, and then they're the ones who cast Last Comic Standing that season. So they asked me to come and audition. So yes, I auditioned in LA with a big group of. I never thought I'd make it. There's so many great headliners.
Yeah. Were you nervous at all?
Yeah, as much as I always get nervous and stuff like that, I also know that you can't control it, but I just want to do the best that I can because I'm the queen of the underdog,
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks I can, and then somehow I end up making it work.
Yeah, that was a great season. Alonzo Bowden, Kathleen Madigan, Gary Goldman, Todd Glass, Bonnie McFarlane. I mean, that's a great season.
And now and John Heffern, you're literally naming the only people I communicate with, basically, now anymore in comedy. Because we're real friends. Like, I talk to John every week, Aunt every week, Bonnie it's amazing. And really, really. It was a hard season for us, though, because it was the first bits of reality, and we didn't understand how reality TV worked. So when I tell you that Bonnie and I were at each other's throats, it was because of producers lying to create a moment. That's the truth, because it took us like 3 or 4 years afterwards
Mm-hmm.
to get together and talk and go, wait a second, I always loved you. I always loved you. Well, you said this. No, you said, no, I didn't say that. They said that. I said that. And then, we worked it through and realized that they had images to portray,
Mm-hmm.
Now that we know our classic reality, images,
Right.
The bitch, the whore, you know what I mean, for women.
Yeah. I tried to audition for the show in 2007 in Arizona. I was living out there very briefly, and I was in line for like 8 hours. I didn't even get in. I'm glad I didn't, because I'd only been doing comedy a year, and I was a little arrogant because I had just come off of this magical diet where I lost all this weight, and I thought I was invincible and shit, and I'm glad I didn't do it, but I ended up...
Are they still living in a house? Were they living in a house in 2007?
Who was living in the house?
Were they still doing that on the show, living together? I don't think they were they?
I can't remember. I can't remember. It was so long ago. I can't remember. But then I auditioned for America's Got Talent. I auditioned for that 3 times, including this year. And this year, I really thought I had it. I said, oh, this is going to be the summer of Kovac. And it ended up being the summer of Barbalac.
Yeah. Hey, don't feel bad. They called me to come audition for America's Got Talent. They emailed me, then called me. I said, listen, I don't want anything to do with any. I love the show, but I don't think that I don't think that show is a comic-friendly show.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to be a comic for all age groups and in a minute and a half. And I'm a personality-driven comedian anyway, and they were like, no, please. And then they made me come twice, and then they didn't pick me either, which, look, it happens like that, which is fine, because that's just not my venue. Not that I'm a dirty comic, but I don't know how to entertain 8-year-olds,
Yeah. Yeah, none of us do. I see you did a couple. This is a very selfish moment for me because I'm such a Jerry Lewis fan. You did a couple of his telethons.
I did.
Yeah, what was that like?
Did I lose you?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I didn't move. I'm sitting.
What was
that like?
Yeah.
Pretty amazing, because I told you I used to watch all those shows with my going to be on, at 8 o'clock at night on the Sunday, which is like their prime time. And they sent a car to pick my manager and I up, and we get to the bungalows, and we each have our own area in these bungalows. You each have your own, but they have someone walking you every minute, right, under an umbrella because it was raining, and they all have their walkie-talkies, and I see Steve and Edie, and there's Ed McMahon, and I'm like, oh my God, how did I overshoot stardom? And I'm like, how did this happen? I'm right here. And we're walking to my bungalow, and Robert Goulet comes out of his bungalow just in front of us.
Wow.
And he says hello and keeps walking down the walkway, and then all of a sudden he turns left and goes into another bungalow. And the young girl that was walking us stops at that bungalow and doesn't say anything to us, but then is on her walkie-talkie, just obviously we're waiting and waiting. And now we're waiting 15 minutes, and finally my manager says to the girl, listen, hey, Tammy's got to get in there. She's got to change. She's got to get in hair and makeup because she's got to be on set now soon. And she's like, I'm sorry, but that's her bungalow. And, and we're like, what? The one that we thought my bungalow just wasn't ready. She's like, no, that's it, where Mr. Goulet is. And then we waited a few more minutes, and then all of a sudden he came out of the bungalow, had a magazine, put it underneath his arm. Now he's in a tuxedo, perfect hair, perfect mustache, nice tan, puts the magazine under his arm, gives me that little 2-finger over the eye salute, and then continues to walk down the set. We went in the he blew up my bungalow. He apparently had to go to the bathroom so bad, but he didn't want to go in his. I don't think he knew that it was mine, but he really didn't care. He went to the bathroom. It stunk so badly that they moved my set time because I couldn't get in there to get ready.
Oh my God, that's so awesome! Though you knew what Robert Goulet's shit smelled like.
Yeah, well, it's for the rest of my life now. When I'm having a bad day or something gets completely, I get screwed on something, I always say I got Goulet.
That's awesome. Oh my God, but that's big though. I mean, doing a Jerry Lewis telethon, that's like shooting heroin with Miles Davis.
It was fun. I wish I had pictures. I'm sure somewhere there are pictures, but I don't have them, and I wish I could find them. I wish someone could find them for me. I don't have those pictures. That's the hard part in life, is that we didn't document. I don't even have I have VHS tape of Last Comic Standing because that's what they had in 2004. So I really would I'd give anything to get that stuff and have it digitally tossed up.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Who knows? It may surface someday. So when did you decide you were going to move out of LA?
Well, I got pregnant, and when I got pregnant, it was weird because my husband's family's from Brooklyn, and mine's from Cleveland. No one was there. We had no help, and I make my living as a stand-up. I've rarely gotten cast in things, and certainly not enough to stay in LA and make money. And he is a jack of all trades, entertainer, comic, actor, director, all that. But at the time, he was directing, and they were having a writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, we got to get out of here. We temporarily thought we would leave and then come back and have the baby. Plus, and I say this in my act from the Finding the Funny special, but when I told people I was pregnant, my agent goes, there goes your career.
Yeah.
And I literally said, what is it, 1942? And he said, I've never seen a pregnant woman on stage. And I did say, apparently never been to a really bad strip club. And it gave me one of my best jokes ever, but it was a true statement. And now I see all these, listen, Joan Rivers was on The Tonight Show pregnant in the 60s. Sure, she was.
Right.
But she was Joan Rivers. She also had a husband that was a multimillionaire. No one at my level was doing it. Sure, Rosie O'Donnell, Rosie had a wife. You know what I mean? All those, no one who was at my level was doing that. It was not, it wasn't something that you did while you were still a road dog,
Right.
So that was why we moved. We moved to New York. We moved one Brooklyn apartment away from my mother-in-law. And I came home. I went to work one day, and I came home, and all my furniture was on the street. And it was like, these brownstones. She lived in one, and we lived just one away. And I pull up, and it's like a scene from a movie. I'm paying the taxi, and I'm watching a guy walk away with my grandmother's chair that I had moved from her house to my apartment in Cleveland to LA to New York. And this guy, and I'm grabbing the chair from him, and he's like, that lady gave it to me. And I see all my furniture outside on the like sidewalk, and I'm hobbling up the steps with the chair. She had gotten new furniture at her house and decided my furniture was junky and was going to throw it away. So she made Everybody Loves Raymond's mother look like a nice, easygoing lady. So we moved to PA, and we've been here ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad at least you're happy over there.
Well, I wasn't. Listen, it's never been my dream. We moved here. We were just getting our stuff together, but my mother and father moved here to help us. My brothers used to live in this town. They've subsequently moved, but my husband fell in love with the town, and my son has an easy life. He has a normal life. Like, he goes to school, and I go get on a plane, and that's it. And there's a community that helps, and it's simple, and it's easy, and we had our TV show from here for a year or two, and that was nice.
Nice. Cable access?
No, it was on WeTV.
Oh, okay.
But WeTV might as well have been a cable access show back then because they had no budget.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite joke of all time?
Yeah, I'll tell you. This was, when people say finding your voice, this joke is when my whole act changed. This is my favorite. In my family, we tell the truth. If you're an idiot, we call you an idiot. If you're a dirtball, we call you a dirtball. If you're a whore, we call you my brother's wife.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was my game-changing joke.
Yeah, my favorite joke, Eddie Murphy said this to a couple 13-year-olds in the audience of Delirious. A bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. Bear says to the rabbit, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no, so the bear wiped his ass with the rabbit.
I don't remember that in Delirious.
Yeah. Yeah, actually...
I thought I knew it by heart.
I think it was cut out of the original broadcast, but it's in the home video and the DVD.
Hysterical.
Yeah, and then the rabbit probably died from the stink.
Wait, I think I do remember because he said kids are here.
Yes. You are right.
I think I do remember that. Was that in Raw, though?
No, it's in Delirious.
Okay. So funny. He was just great. No matter what he touched, it was great. That's the thing now. I think with stand-up is so hard because we are so now overwhelmed by the word police. What used to be, we were the court jester. You know what I mean? It was just, we would just say something for fun. We were the ones that could say things. It didn't mean that you meant that you hated this group of people or that group of people. It was fun to be in on the joke or be part of the joke. Now you can even make fun of yourself if somebody finds that it's, socially inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. Well, the way I look at it, the PC police are just like us. They're clowns looking for attention.
Yeah, that's true. You got it, Tommy.
So I'm not worried about them. But do you have any upcoming gigs or projects you want to plug?
Well, I do have a big show at Howie Mandel's club at the Hard Rock.
Nice.
In Atlantic City. That's November 20th or the 22nd. And then I have my new special. The album is called The Last Comedy Special, Tammy Pescatelli's Last Comedy Special. That's exclusively with Get Her Done Records on Sirius, Larry the Cable Guy's channel, Jeff and Larry's Roundup. And then I have my new physical, video special, The Way After School Special, coming out next year. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go right now. We're in negotiations.
Nice. Well, if you can fit it into your schedule, you can come back on and you can promote your special.
Sounds like a plan. Let's totally do it.
Awesome. Well, Tammy, this has been so much fun, and I'm glad you're doing so well, and that you got you got your, you have your success. You know, it may not be international, but you have your success.
Well, thank you. I just, listen, no, I never wanted to be, fame wasn't my goal. There's a big difference, and people ask me, like, what advice do you have for a comic?
Mm-hmm.
I say, figure out what you want. Do you want to be a comic, or do you want to be famous? All I ever wanted to be was a stand-up comedian, a working stand-up comedian. That's the art for me. So whatever comes with that, I've already surpassed. So, yes, there's more because I'd like to do. There's more recognition I wish that I had. But at the end of the day, I set a goal to be a stand-up, and that's what I am. Yes. And that's what I'll probably die at.
Yes, absolutely. That is just so inspiring. And I hope you have yourself a great day over there, and I will talk to you again.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks for being patient with me and persistent. I really appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
It comes with the job.
Thanks, son. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Tammy Pescatelli. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Tammy. You're a very sweet lady, very hilarious, and you have great stories. And I'm so glad you're doing well, and I will talk to you again. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.